Hi guys, this is Richard from Jest Online presenting with the new video. Now this video is going to be explaining about the whole kind of layout and the format of DreamAudit. I'm just going to start because this is going to take a few minutes. I'm going to try and keep you as interested as possible. Just so when you've signed in on your audit folder, you have this dashboard here. So you've got critical alerts, warning alerts, info alerts. You have your overall completion here on the right side. You've got your budget here, which you can add and modify if need be. Financial data, so that's your accounting entries you can add here. Quick actions, any kind of you can set up quick actions to do just to make things go quicker and more smoothly. Here is where we manage our team members, so our colleagues. If we have any colleagues working with us on an audit folder, we can add them or remove them here, and we can also assign tasks in this window here to other members. And then we have our points to review, our kind of overall progress, things that we've come across, pending issues, our current work in progress here, and the details of the company that we're auditing, as well as any tax data here on the bottom. The most interesting part, however, is the left-hand side. We have our 5 steps clearly marked here. Now, DreamAudit was designed in relation to the international standards on auditing, as well as the IFRS standards. So what we have here in the first step is perform preliminary engagement activities. So this is where we kind of fill out all the details regarding the entity that we're auditing. Then we have perform risk assessment procedures. We have design overall responses and further audit procedures. We then have implement responses to assess risk misstatement management. And then we have to finish off conclusions and reporting. So why I explained step 1 already is because it's the least important step. It's the one we do when we're auditing an entity. It's just all general information that we fill out regarding that entity. What the interesting bit is from step 2. So when I open up step 2, we have our pervasive risks, our assertions level, and our internal control folder. So just to explain to you, these are the most important parts of your audit and of anyone who does an audit in general. What we do here, so we have our pervasive risks. These are our overall risks, the risks that we have in general that we can encounter. The assertions level is basically the risks related to the company that we're auditing. So basically their environment and the risks that they encounter in their everyday work. And the internal control folder, that's basically the risks that we've identified and how the company that we're auditing manages those risks. How do they deal with them? So that's basically what we do here, and all of these you will see are linked to each step. So for example, if I just go into pervasive risks, the entity and its environment, so we're going to have a series of questions that we can fill in. As you see here, we can have a summary comment. Here we have our questions. We can do bulk answers, or we can just do separate answers. If we select, we can do bulk, or we can select here and do bulk actions here. What's important to note is that any comments we have here, by clicking on summary, these will go into the completion memorandum at the end of our audit. So that's just to give you an example for the pervasive risks, which is rather general. If we go to assertions level, so if I go to receivables and sales, for example, I'll just continue anyway. Just show you here. As you can see, we have our risks level with our assertions. So this is very important here, because based on our responses, based on the questions we have and the answers we give, we either have a red yes, or a yellow or a green yes, or a red no, or a green no. And all this is in relation to the amount of risk that is involved, linked to each question. As you can see here, the completeness, we have moderate, or we have high, basically for the valuation. And we have our assertions here, as you can see. And again, we can actually add these to the summary in our completion memorandum. We can also choose to modify, we can add a question with new assertions, or we can remove these that are currently in place. So if I move back, so that's the assertions level, and so each cycle is the same. Inventories, fixed assets is all the same format as this, as receivables and sales. So if I just close assertions level, and then we'll go into the internal control folder. So I'm just going to show you the organizational chart quickly. So that's the organizational chart with all our, we have our cycles with our kind of assertions for each cycle here. If I go to receivables and sales and give you a summary, however, and as you can see we have a graph with our assertion name, so our risk level low, high, low, low, you see, moderate, and if we go down we have comments here, and we have have our relative comments, who the comments were done by, who created them, and so the percentage of negative responses we have here, existence, which is at 100%, so this is a test folder obviously. When you have filled out these three cycles here, these three elements, we'll then go on to step 3, just to show you the link. So design overall responses and further audit procedures. And if I just open up the risks matrix, and as you can see here we have all our cycles and the relative risks based on everything we filled out, all the questions we've answered, the yes, no's, everything. We have our work program here too, which we can modify, which I'll show you a bit later. The risk level, obviously, here, and we also have the comments in a cycle list: inherent risk, internal control risk, overall risk, the weight, risk misstatement management, and the level of control. So we have all these details here, which are primordial basically for our audit. If I go to the work program, so you see here, as I showed you, if I click on this pen here, for example for receivable sales, I'll just go into it, and as you can see here we have our suggested controls, and I'm in receivable sales, and so we can show selected procedures, you see, or we can modify these procedures or remove them. We can also add a new control, as you can see here, if we need to. For verification purposes we have our assertions, which we can add, and this is how we can personalize our work program to tailor it to our specific needs, which is very important. So if I just go back, and so I'll go back down here, and then I'll show you basically the work program here in step 3 on the left, and then I click on receivable sales, so you can see the work program, and there we are. You see, that's basically what I showed you earlier. It's just in receivable sales, we have the same for inventories, it's the same format, so we have our work program defined for us. Now once all this has been defined, it brings us into step 4. So if I go to step 4, and then we go to our working papers. So if I go to the receivable sales part, and you see we have our work program laid out, and here we are. Here's our work program, which we defined in step 3 through the 2 options I showed you how to access, either in the data tree here or directly. And so this is our defined work program. And once we've done that, and also you can see the papers, the working papers we have for this section, as well as the work program. So you see there's a link between steps 2, 3, and 4 based on our pervasive risks, assertions level, and internal control folder. Based on these levels of risk that we add, it then brings us down to our work program, which we can define and modify, which then brings us to our working papers, and everything is linked. And you see, once all that has been done, guys, if I just close here, it then brings us to our final step in conclusions and reporting. Whereas if, for example, I open my completion memorandum, and if I view the document, so you'll see here we have our completion memorandum. So if I just go down, you see we have our our parts here, which the blue bits, which means we can add things in. Now all these documents are modifiable, of course, you see, but also they are automatically filled in based on what we've put into our audit, into each step previously completed. So as you can see here, we have our receivable sales, our risks. You see everything here, and it will be conveyed into a table here. So there we are. So this is how everything is linked. I hope this video was interesting for you, and please don't hesitate to leave any comments on the video. Any information or any help. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them directly. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos. Thank you.